For Creamer Media's Polity, I'm Motshabi Hoaeane. Researcher and analyst Professor Raymond Suttner examines South Africa's democracy within the context of the ANC's single-party dominance. Thank you so much for your time, Professor. Your article shows that democracy has been undermined in recent years. Why are you so intent on suggesting it has nothing to do with the continued electoral strength of the ANC?
Well, normally I would not have started with that because I would have analysed what has happened to democracy, how do we understand it, and so on. But there's a large body of thinking amongst academics which puts the problem of democracy at the door of the ANC consistently winning elections. Now, this is known as the dominant party theory, although I don't think it's a theory. I also don't think it's got much explanatory power. But Anthony Butler, who's a professor at UCT, the other day quoted some professor referring to people moving from adolescence to adulthood when they move from one-party dominance to multi-party competitive systems. Now, that sort of language is a little bit unfortunate because in the history of South Africa, Africans have often been depicted as children. There's what is called the infant metaphor, that Africans are a sort of infant or child race. It will take them thousands of years to acquire civilization, which the whites brought here. Now, that language is used, but then it is an assumption that one-party dominance is in itself a danger to democracy. Now, there are many countries in the world that have had dominant parties before South Africa. The Swedes had the Social Democrats being a dominant party for decades. There was no question of it being a democratic state. In India, until the Indira Gandhi period, the Indian Congress was dominant and no one questioned their democracy. Japan, Taiwan under the Kuomintang, so that it seems to me that this is a framework that is applied selectively. And I think we have to ask ourselves whether the guarantee of democracy in South Africa, or let's say we can never guarantee anything, or the safeguarding of democracy is dependent on an opposition party being able to come into power, or whether there are other mechanisms. We also have to ask ourselves, what is the problem? Why is a dominant party, an opposition party not coming into power in South Africa? And I think the answer has got nothing to do with democracy. It's got to do with the ANC being credited with bringing democracy to South Africa, which may no longer be it may no longer be the guarantor of democracy. We can examine that. And the DA and other people being tainted by the roles that they played in the apartheid era. Now, my argument 20 years ago or 10 years ago was that the most important guarantees of democracy was not the circulation of elites, as it's called, and the supplanting of the ANC, but the various strong constitutional mechanisms that safeguarded our freedom. However, as I argue in the article, that reasoning is now coming under pressure because we have seen the undermining of constitution. We're seeing it at this very moment with the public protector, that they are not following the constitution and they are undermining an institution like the public protector, which is one of the safeguards of constitutionalism in South Africa. So my argument is that if you want to defend democracy, you have to embed in the consciousness of the people of South Africa the importance of constitutionalism, the importance of defending democracy, whether or not you can get the ANC out of power. I think it's important that we don't focus politics as happening only in Parliament. We as citizens need to do things about, there is this organisation, CASAC, that looks at the Constitution.
Yes.
In the past, the Black Sash used to do so. We need to build other organisations so that even if the ANC remains in power and it continues to attack the Constitution, there are other ways of addressing that.
So, Professor, do you believe the attack on constitutionalism is irreversible?
I don't think that most things are irreversible. I suppose unless you drive a car into a wall and it gets stuck there, it's not so easy. In real life, most things, if you understand how you got where you are, what was the trajectory that put you in the problem that you now confront, once you understand the steps that have been taken, you can try and work out how those steps can be retraced and how we can be put again on the highway which defends constitutionalism and defends democracy. Now, the way of retracing our steps, I've hinted in the earlier question, is to me to involve a wide range of organizations and people in pro-democracy activities, defending the Constitution, so that it becomes not just something out there, but because it's not out there. When police attack people in the streets, could be you and I. When people steal money, that money is our money as taxpayers.
Indeed.
So that all of us need to get involved in this process of recovering our democracy, recovering the hopes that many of us had for freedom in 1994, and instilling in people a pride in our Constitution, a pride which will lead people to defend it against any attacks.
Thank you so much, Professor, for those insights. That was Professor Raymond Suttner on defending constitutionalism.